Welcome to today's webinar about Penn State's Master of Public Policy degree program with our integrated undergraduate, graduate, accelerated degree programs for Penn State undergraduate students. Hi, I'm Whitney Sheridan, Director of Communications with the School of Public Policy at Penn State. I'll be moderating today's webinar with our presenters who I'd like to introduce now. Today we have Stephen Maslowski. He's our Enrollment and Advising Manager. Welcome, Stephen.
Hello, Whitney. Thank you for having me.
We also have Caitlin Reber. Caitlin started the Master of Public Policy degree as one of our accelerated integrated undergraduate graduate program students and is now a full-time graduate student who just completed the intern experience over the summer. Thanks for joining us, Caitlin.
Hi, thank you for having me.
And also with us is our Director of Professional Development and Student Engagement, Catherine Baumgardner. Catherine is also an associate teaching professor and has nearly 30 years of public policy experience in healthcare, advocacy, and consulting. Welcome, Catherine. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Whitney. It's great to join you today.
And I'd like to thank all of our Penn State students for joining us today. We're so excited to have you with us. And I want to let you know that we're excited to have you ask questions throughout today's entire presentation. Just use that Q&A button in the controls at the bottom of the Zoom window at any time throughout the discussion. Before I turn things over to the panelists and start talking about the program, I want to let you know about what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to provide an overview of the Master of Public Policy program, which you're going to hear us call the MPP program very frequently. We're going to talk about the integrated undergraduate graduate program, which is a mouthful. So we're also going to refer to that as the IUG program. And we're going to talk about who should apply for the program and talk about how the program works. We'll talk about career options and income expectations for grads. We'll also talk about a lot of the unique resources that our program has for students at Penn State. We'll discuss the application process. And of course, once again, we're going to take those questions and we'll talk about why you should pursue your master's degree at Penn State. But first, I want to give an update on what's happening at Penn State. Of course, you're here at Penn State, so you know a lot about what's going on. But Stephen, I want to give the latest here. So let's turn it over to you.
Thank you, Whitney. So as Penn State students, if you are looking for information about what's going on in the university's response regarding the ongoing pandemic, this website is your best chance for up-to-date information, your best source for it. In regards to what's going on, the university is still making determinations about how exactly spring semester is going to operate. At the moment, those decisions are still being made for how many courses might be offered as COVID in person, COVID in remote. And so this site will give you updates as more things are finalized for the upcoming semester.
Great, thanks, Stephen. So let's talk a little bit about the Master of Public Policy program, the MPP degree. Stephen, we're here to talk about the IUG program and how that integrates with the Master of Public Policy degree program, but exactly what is the MPP degree program? Who is this program for? Who should apply?
So the MPP program is a professional master's degree in public policy that works on training students to go out into the professional workforce and with an understanding of how to design, adopt, analyze, and implement public policies across multiple different areas and fields. I like to tell students that this is a great degree for students who want to develop and impact change at any type of level. And so if you see yourself as a change maker, you're motivated to make a difference, this is a great opportunity for you because it's a professional degree that'll give you the skill set necessary to go out into the world and do those things and accomplish those goals.
Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, in terms of the curriculum side of things, it is a 43 credit program, and there are shared courses, which we'll go into in a little bit in regards to how the IUG operates for students.
Perfect. And I want to bring Caitlin into the discussion. Caitlin started her introduction into the MPP program as one of our IUG students. Caitlin, what drew you to the Master of Public Policy degree?
Honestly, pretty much everything Stephen was just talking about. When I was an undergrad, I was kind of deciding between law school or this program for like post-grad education. I knew I wanted to make some sort of societal change. I didn't really know how I wanted to go about pursuing that. And after attending an info session for the MPP degree here, it just seemed like a really great opportunity to be able to make a lot of change, and it would give me a lot of different avenues to do that. So
Perfect, great. And we're going to talk now a little bit more about that IUG program, which is why we have invited all of these Penn State students to join us today. So once again, it's the Accelerated Integrated Undergraduate Graduate Program for Penn State students, which as I mentioned, is a mouthful, which is why we refer to it quite often as the IUG program. We mentioned that Caitlin's was a part of the IUG degree program. Stephen, tell us a little bit more about what this program is and how it works, what programs we have, and why students should consider this program.
Absolutely. So the IUG program is designed at Penn State for high achieving undergraduate students who are interested in getting a master's degree in an accelerated format. And so the way that it works is it allows students to essentially complete the MPP degree by only doing one additional year after they complete their undergraduate degree instead of two. And how that works is we end up sharing courses between the two degree programs. So some courses that you take on the undergrad side will count up towards the graduate degree, and some courses that you take on the graduate side can count down towards the undergraduate degree. So that helps eliminate some curriculum, which allows for the accelerated format. And then on top of all of that, while you're in your senior year of dual enrollment between both undergrad and grad, if you can fit it in your schedule, you'll take just straight courses towards the graduate degree as well. And that allows to essentially create just one additional year of coursework for you. At the moment, we have IUG opportunities with the B.S. in criminology, the B.S. in sociology, the B.A. political science, and with both degree options in health policy administration. And so we will count 4 of your courses, like I said, between 2 degrees, and you'll work with both your undergraduate advisor and me as your graduate advisor to make sure that you have those requirements done. The nice thing is it builds upon what you're already doing in your undergraduate major and helps you develop a better understanding around what you're already doing, and it saves time and money. So by doing the IUG program, you get to complete everything by just paying undergrad tuition. So that your dual enrollment, you're only paying undergrad tuition, and the graduate school has confirmed with us that that year that you are just doing that graduate school, you can still receive undergraduate tuition as well.
Wow, so that's a lot of savings, which is fantastic. Caitlin, I want to ask you how the IUG worked for you, because now you're in your year of graduate studies. But what was it like your senior year, juggling the graduate courses with your senior year courses? Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. It was definitely intimidating. I was very nervous to start grad classes. I wasn't 100% sure what they would be like. It was something brand new, but and it was a little difficult. Obviously, balancing your graduate courses and your undergraduate courses along with all your other undergraduate activities. It's definitely challenging, but as long as you can manage your time well and just do the work, put in the work, you'll be fine. I found that graduate classes I kind of like a little better. They're once a week. The people classes are at night, so that was different, but it gives you some time during the day. I took a couple of crim grad classes too, which were, again, like, they're graduate classes, so they're more difficult, but ultimately I feel like it's been a very good experience. And while it was challenging my senior year, it was definitely manageable.
I want to follow up with another question for you first, but I want to remind everybody that we are taking questions throughout this discussion because that's what we're here for. We're here to answer your questions about the IUG program and the MPP degree as well. So don't hesitate to ask those questions. Use the chat, use the Q&A box at any time throughout the discussion. Caitlin, how did you find that being already at Penn State, this was a nice transition into a graduate program because you already had the lay of the land and you were able to talk to a lot of the faculty members, and it made it a nice smooth transition for you into graduate work?
Yes, definitely. I think already being familiar with Penn State and the campus was really helpful. I also knew a couple people, other IUG students coming into the program, which was really nice. So that made it a lot easier for me and more comforting knowing that at least, like, I know Penn State and I knew a couple people, and then I obviously ended up getting to know the rest of the cohort very well. So I think being at Penn State already definitely made it easier.
Great. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about the unique aspects of the MPP program. And I'm going to turn this over to Stephen. So tell us a little bit more about what makes the MPP, the Master of Public Policy program at Penn State, unique, and about some of the curriculum aspects of the program.
Yeah, so one of the things that makes us a unique program is that we do have a lot of flexibility in terms of where students can specialize and focus in regards to their policy concentrations. Now, for most IUG programs, because each one's a little bit different, your specialization will be centered around what you are currently doing your undergraduate degree in. Because you will be sharing those courses between the two degrees usually. So that's essentially where your specialization might fall, but it is different for each IUG program, which is why you need to work with both your undergrad advisor and me as your graduate advisor to make sure that you're staying within all of the regulations of the program. The way that the rest of the curriculum is structured is that you are going to get a broad set of core curriculum in the School of Public Policy that's going to provide you with the training that you need to go out and be a policy analyst. So for most IUG students in that year of dual enrollment, you will be completing both of our statistics for public policy courses. And then if there is still space in your schedule, we will look at adding additional courses as, say, like the public policy process, public finance and budgeting, potentially organizational leadership and management. There's a lot of options in terms of building out that senior year curriculum. But essentially, we want to at least get you these statistics classes so that you are prepared to then go in and do your professional internships after you graduate and complete your undergrad program in that summer between finishing undergrad and starting solely in your master's program. And then in year 2, you come back and you work with us on finishing any additional requirements that you have as part of the MPP program.
Great. We do have a question, and this is a good one. This is from Aaron. As a Schreyer student, are there any additional honors requirements in the graduate college?
So as a Schreyer student, there are different options available to you for IUG. So Schreyer students can actually create a custom IUG with their undergrad program if their current undergrad program does not have a pre-approved IUG as part of the university. So depending on what your undergrad degree is in, whether you have to go the custom route through Schreyer or just the normal route, changes essentially the requirements and setup. So if you are going with a custom IUG with Schreyer, there is an additional application process with the Honors College for approval that you would work with me and them on completing, as well as the normal application process for the IUG program, which we will talk about a little bit later in the presentation.
And as a side note, we have at least one interesting honors policy course that's
Yes.
available for spring. So
Yes.
coming up there, and if you're interested in getting your feet wet with policy courses for honor students. So thanks for that question. So let's talk a little bit about what you can do with a policy degree. And for this, I'm going to turn to Catherine Baumgardner, who's our Director of Professional Development and Student Engagement, who works very closely with our students on securing internships and helping them with career placement and getting them ready for their place in the job market. So Catherine, tell us, we know we've been talking about how the MPP is a professional degree program that gets you ready so that you have those job skills, but what are the jobs that are available?
Oh, the sky's the limit today, Whitney. Um, Especially, if you just watch what's going on in the world around you today, there are so many jobs available at levels of government, nonprofit organizations, lobbying and consulting firms, think tanks, private sector companies. The knowledge of how to navigate the way that policy gets impacted is becoming more and more and more valuable. As I said, all you have to do is turn on the news today. And as you mentioned, one of the real hallmarks of our program is making sure that our students are job ready upon graduation. And I'll talk about that with the internship and the capstone in a little bit. But what's really, really interesting and helpful, I think, about this program is by the time you graduate, you've experienced how the policy process works, and you bring that knowledge into the workplace in a way that a lot of other graduates don't.
And Caitlin, you mentioned that when you were considering the MPP program and the IUG program, it was, you were thinking about law school, but this was another option. What are your career goals now? You're getting ready to graduate. You're talking about I know you're going to meet with Catherine about the capstone experience pretty quick after we're done here. But what are your goals after you graduate?
I'm thinking, so my internship was at a nonprofit this summer, so I'm definitely thinking I want to at least start my policy career in the nonprofit sector. I really enjoyed the experience. So I think that would be really interesting, and there's so many nonprofits out there for lots of different issues that I'm passionate about. So I definitely think that's where I would like to start my career, and who knows where I'll go after that.
Excellent. And we look forward to following you as you continue with your career. So, Catherine, what everybody wants to know is that master's degree worth it? Is the MPP worth it? Will it boost the earning power?
Well, asking the ROI question is always a wise one. And just listening to the discussion about and thinking about this being an IUG, the numbers I'll give you are for if you do a 2-year master's program. Mm-hmm. And so according to the US Census Bureau, grads earn about $19,000 more than their counterpart with bachelor's degrees, and pay ranges somewhere between $40,000 and $125,000, depending really on the sector that you choose to enter, and settling in somewhere around a median of $75,000 a year. And that's really kind of a broad range. But if you think about doing this as an IUG, you're saving 1 year of extra graduate school, which would drive up not only the savings, but also the return on investment would be a whole lot quicker.
That's absolutely correct. I mean, Stephen mentioned before, you're paying that undergraduate tuition rate.
Mm-hmm.
So, and
not doing the extra year.
And not doing the extra year, right? You pay that undergraduate tuition rate even when after you finish that senior year of your undergraduate work. So that's fantastic. Exactly. Definitely seems like it's worth it. So resources, something that I mentioned earlier is that our program's unique in several ways. And one of the ways in which it's unique is that we provide a lot of support that you might not see with some of the other programs. Catherine, talk to us a little bit more about that.
Sure. As I mentioned at the outset, really having our students be job ready is one of our primary focal points. And we do that in a couple of different ways. One way is by having an internship that's placed between the first and the second year in the summer. which is where students get that broad exposure to an organization and have the opportunity to work with leadership in a way that helps them to understand how the policy process works. So in that first year, the students have had core foundational courses, and now it's the chance to see how that gets applied. How do things get navigated? How do you collect data? How do you analyze data? And how do you make your case to take to the organization that's actually going to impact the policy that you may be developing, that you may be wanting to change, or that you may be advocating for? And so the internship is a very broad opportunity. The internship is a course in and of itself. And while there's a preceptor on site, the internship also provides an opportunity to network with me on a weekly basis. So I'm watching not only that the goals get set, but we do midterm evaluations with the preceptor, and we do final evaluations so that we make sure the internship stays on track throughout the process. And then I'm also looking at what are the activities and insights that are happening every week as a way to help to insert wherever we need leadership growth or development. And so that's how the internship process works. Students find their own internships, but we do a lot of work with helping students to navigate the process of applying. What should your resume look like? What should your cover letter look like? How do you prepare for interviews? And we've created a virtual interview guide because so much of our interviews are virtual right now. And a lot of the internships are still virtual. We were very successful last summer in pivoting every one of our interns into a remote internship. And I was very proud to say we had 100% placement there. The internship then becomes a springboard for a capstone project, which then think about as going deep. So in the internship, you're understanding the way the broad process works. In the capstone, you have the opportunity to work on a project from start to finish or wherever the organization is on that project, but then you get to work it through. So essentially what you're doing is applying what you've learned over the 2-year process into practice. And so when you leave, you've got something you've done and you've got real world experience. We couple that with leadership development that's done by way of an elective course in leadership, but also underpinned by a lot of my one-on-one work with students. So we do Gallup Strengths coaching with our students. And we also, through professional development, have a very robust webinar series where we bring in alumni to talk about what do we look for when we're recruiting and interviewing MPP students? What's the importance of a mentor? What's the importance of a coach in the workplace? How does one navigate change in a workplace? And so we have a whole array of alums and topics that help you to be successful in the workplace. And then another array of alums and topics that help you to understand how people have navigated careers throughout. And then we also underpin that with faculty who talk about their research, but in a more general world application way, as well as other tracks in diversity, equity, and inclusion. So very robust and rounded out program that really is there to support students to be the best they can be when they graduate.
Sorry about that. We have a question here from Diane. Is the internship component included in the IUG program or just the MPP? It is in the IUG, and I wanted to ask Caitlin about her experience. Caitlin, you mentioned that you interned with RAIN, and I wanted to ask you to tell us a little bit about that experience.
Sure. So RAIN is the largest anti-sexual violence organization in the US. So I interned with them in their communications department. I was able to incorporate a lot of different policy components as well. And I got a lot of experience in a lot of different areas. I got to talk to people in all of their departments, kind of see what RAIN as a nonprofit is about, how nonprofits are run, because I've never worked in a nonprofit before, so it was completely new to me. I got to write some articles about how their communications department helps their policy team. We did a group intern project about Title IX and COVID. So I got a lot of really great experience, and I'm hoping to do my capstone with them as well. So
excellent. So yes, the IUG includes that internship experience, which sounds like it's leading to a lot of other great opportunities as well. And as Catherine mentioned, we had tremendous success securing internships for our cohort. Even despite what happened with COVID, we were able to pivot to everyone online. And as you can see on this slide here, I had a picture of one of our students who interned with the Pennsylvania Commission on Sentencing, and that was remote. So I thought I'd include that. Let's talk about how to apply. So applying to the IUG is a little different than how you apply to the MPP. And I wanted to talk to Stephen about this because I know Stephen would suggest some things you might want to do first. You might want to talk through things first with your advisor or maybe with Stephen. So Stephen, I'm going to throw it over to you for this part of it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Whitney. So first steps, if you are interested in this program, are to talk to your undergraduate advisor and make sure that this would be a good fit for you, both in terms of what you're looking to do with your career and also in terms of your own academic timeline. Because remember, if you are looking at the IUG program, that senior year, you are going to be dual enrolled in both degrees. And so you need to make sure that you will have the credit capacity within your schedule to handle that type of workload. And so your first step should always be to talk to your undergraduate advisor to make sure that this is a viable option for you. Once you talk to them, I would always recommend setting up an appointment with me to just go over everything and answer any questions that you might have before you go into the application process. Once you've done all of that and you know that this is what you want to try and do, then you will want to look to start the application, which is you can just go to gradschool.psu.edu, or you can access the application through our website as well. In terms of the requirements for IUG applicants, they're very similar to our normal MPP applicants with just a few little changes. So as an IUG applicant, we require that you have, each program is a little bit different, but you will need to have around a 3.4 GPA to be eligible to apply to the program. You will need 2 letters of recommendation. Both need to be from faculty members. One has to be from a faculty member within your degree program. So for instance, if you are a criminology student, you would need at least 1 letter of your recommendation to come from a criminology faculty member. And then finally, we require that you submit a 1,500-word statement of purpose. And this is your chance to tell us your story. Tell us about you, what's motivated you to pursue a master's of public policy, maybe what you're hoping to do with the degree. It's really your chance to tell us all about you and your motivations for pursuing this career path. We do not require any graduate exams, so you don't have to worry about taking any of those. One of the other big things that you can see from this slide as you're going through the application, you need to make sure that you click the box at the beginning that says you are applying as part of an integrated program. And then that's it. Once you have all of your materials in, we will review them and let you know if you have been admitted to the IUG program. And then you will start working with your undergrad advisor and me to set up your schedules going forward. In terms of timelines for applying for IUG students, the ideal time to get your application in is towards the end of the fall semester or at the conclusion of the fall semester of your junior year. That's the earliest that you can really apply as your junior year for an IUG program. But I say at the end of fall semester because in a lot of cases you need that semester to either raise your GPA or get connected with faculty members in your specific major so that you can get the required letters of recommendation. I like to say to apply at the end of fall semester or after it's concluded because that gives us enough time and you enough time to get all of your materials in and reviewed. And if you are approved and admitted to the program, we can do it before you have to meet with your undergrad advisor to do scheduling for the following fall semester. So usually you're scheduling for fall in March. We'd like to have you admitted and ready before that so that we can work together as a team with everybody involved to make sure that you are all set and ready to go for that year of dual enrollment.
Great. And again, stressing the first step would be to talk to your advisor. You can also email Stephen. The general email address for the School of Public Policy is publicpolicy@psu.edu, and that gets directly to Stephen. So if you have questions anytime, get to him and he'll be sure to answer you. And he'd love to set up a virtual meeting to talk to you about more.
Absolutely.
So why should you choose to continue your master's degree at Penn State? We've talked a lot about the degree, but what are some of the benefits for staying at Penn State? We've talked about the specialization flexibility, but Stephen, maybe you want to go into a little bit more of these highlights.
Yeah, so there's a few things that I think are benefits for our program over potential other options for you. I mean, obviously, as an IUG student, it's the time and money is a big factor, but also the flexibility that we have in the curriculum so that you can get certain electives and broaden your scope of understanding in specific areas of public policy is another benefit because of how many specialization options that we do have for our students. Another big benefit is that we are a small program. So coming into this program, you have a lot of access to all of our faculty, our staff, and your fellow cohort members. As Caitlin was saying, you know, she got a really good chance to meet with all of her cohort, and they have a very tight bond. And that's something that we like to try to foster and continue is being a small program that is very interconnected with each other. And then on top of all of that, as undergrads, I'm sure you've heard this many times, but Penn State is the largest active alumni association in the world, and that creates a lot of opportunities and networking chances for you, no matter where you go after you leave the university, whether it's somewhere else in the United States or even somewhere else in the world.
So
and if I
Caitlin,
could just quickly, I would add the intern or the alumni piece. Just in the last week, I've had 2 alums that have connected our students to some very prestigious organizations for internship opportunities. So I just ask and they're more than willing to help. So that's an important thing to know as well.
excellent, excellent. And Caitlin, you mentioned the cohort. Tell us a little bit more about what it's like. You know, we're part of this really big campus here at University Park, but the cohort is very small, and now we've got our second cohort that started this past fall. But what is it like being a part of your cohort? Tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, I really love that it's a small program. As an undergrad, I wanted to go to a big school because I wanted to have that experience. But I think for grad school, it's nice to have a smaller group of students that you can get to know. We all help each other work on projects and homework and whatnot. So that's been really great to have a small group of people who can all just support each other in the classes that we're taking. Yeah, I think that was a huge draw for me, was the size of the program. Again, like I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, didn't really know what an MPP was about. So it's been really nice to have a group of very different and diverse students, but who are all pretty like-minded in what they want to do. Like everyone is in an MPP mostly because they want to make some positive change in the US and the world. So it's been really great to be surrounded by those kind of people.
One thing I don't know that we've talked about is some of the opportunities that we've had, for students such as yourself, is you've had opportunities to work with some of our faculty. In particular, you've gotten to work with our director on some of his research. So tell us a little bit about that, and I'll ask Stephen to follow up with some of the details if you want.
Sure. Yeah, that's been a really wonderful opportunity. I've been doing research with Dr. Lillard Richardson since I started the program last fall. So I've been helping him with a lot of his projects about marijuana. He's really interested in state differences. So I've helped him with researching marijuana policies across the states, different factors that kind of play into legalization of marijuana and whatnot. I also helped him tracking with COVID policies when the pandemic first started in the spring. So that's been a really wonderful experience to get to be able to really hone my research skills, because that was something that in my undergrad I never really did. I didn't pursue a research position because I didn't really know that was available. So now in this program, that's been really wonderful to be able to get to know Lillard and also help him with his research.
So Stephen, tell us about the possibilities for these types of research positions.
Absolutely. So we have a lot of different potential options in terms of helping students from a funding aspect and also just an gaining experience aspect. So as Caitlin has talked about, you know, she has a research position that's associated with our director of the school, but all of our faculty have research positions that are tied to them that all students who apply to the program are eligible for. So just applying to the program automatically puts you in contention for a potential research position. We also have some positions that just work on supporting the school and myself in terms of our efforts. And they all pay an hourly rate, and students have them for an entire year and are paid on a biweekly basis and can use the funds for anything that they see necessary, whether it's tuition, rent, food. So there are a lot of opportunities for you to build on the experience that you want just within our own program.
Excellent. So we do have time for Q&A before we wrap things up. If there are any additional questions, now would be a great time to ask. I want to encourage anyone to reach out to us at any time. Our email address again is publicpolicy@psu.edu. You can also visit our website, publicpolicy.psu.edu. We have our brochure that you can download. You can take a look at a lot of our past events and upcoming events that we have available. Some of the ones that Catherine has spoken about. We have a professional development event coming up next Wednesday on mentoring. But yes, we are here to take your questions at any time. There are also links to more information on the IUG programs on our website if you click on the undergraduate tab as well. But I know that you guys Caitlin has had a great experience with the IUGs, and several of our students have been in the IUG program. Jonathan Ortiz was one of our IUG students. We have several of our students who have had a lot of success with the IUG program. And many of the last fall, this semester cohort started in the IUG program as well. So we hope to see many of you who are attending now applying for the IUG program. But if there are no other additional questions, be sure to follow us on social media. But again, please feel free to reach out to us, email us. publicpolicy@psu.edu is the website, or publicpolicy@psu.edu. Email us anytime. Thank you to our panelists, Stephen Maslowski, our enrollment and advising manager, for joining us today. Oh, we also have another question here. From Alicia, who is a Schreier student. How might this program affect the thesis project?
So it shouldn't have any impact on the thesis project. As part of your honors enrollment, that is something that you do have to complete. So this doesn't change or impact that in any way. That's still a requirement that you do with the honors colleges as part of your enrollment there. But it's not something that's shared within the IUG program or changes because of developing either a custom one through Schreier or applying to an already existing pre-approved one at the university.
And Stephen, real quick, I did want to mention one thing I forgot to ask you. There are, besides the programs that we've discussed with political science, criminology, sociology, and health policy and administration, there are additional ways to begin your master's degree early. And we have information about that on our website as well. And folks can reach out to you at publicpolicy@psu.edu if they're interested in learning more about that too.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you are going to be going into your senior year and you aren't eligible for the IUG program, or you're just not 100% sure if it's something that you want to pursue, there is an option within the university where you can start taking graduate courses during your senior year that we can then transfer over to your graduate record if you do apply and come into the MPP program. So there are a few different pathways for you to start this degree early, and I'm happy to talk to anybody who's interested about it more by just send me an email and we'll get something set up.
And here's another question. Is undergraduate involvement in clubs activities affected by enrollment in this program?
Nope, not at all.
No, not at all. Okay. Excellent. All right. Any more questions? It doesn't seem like we have any more. Caitlin Reaver, our Master of Public Policy student class of 2021, thank you so much for taking your lunch hour to join us today before meeting with Catherine about the capstone experience, which I know you guys are anxious to get down to talk about. And Catherine Baumgartner, Director of Professional Development and Student Engagement, thanks so much for joining us. And thank you to all of our students who attended today. Again, I cannot encourage you enough to reach out to us if you have more questions. We'd love to have you join us as our next cohort in the Master of Public Policy IUG program. Thanks so much to everybody for joining us, and have a great afternoon. Thank you, everybody.